Today's episode of the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast is brought to you by BioPro, Hidden House Coffee, and Next Gen Peptides. Enjoy the show.
No, I don't have anything that's like specific on my mind. I mean, I love talking about all these topics, whether it's fitness, coaching, being a better dad, being a better husband, backstory, why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's a podcast and like leaving something for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. I thought about it this morning. I've been journaling every day. I committed to 365 days of reading Stoic philosophy. Ooh. And then I have to journal about it every day.
Okay.
And I also made the commitment that I was going to journal in cursive because it's like now become like a lost art, right?
The kids won't be able to read it.
Well, that's the funny part. I thought was like, I'm leaving all these cool things that I'm writing about what that philosophy means to me and how I apply it to my life. But I'm like, are my kids going to even be able to read this?
What are you reading? Is it like a collection, or are you just finding it online?
It's a book that I found that it's a book of the Stoic philosophers.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and some of these other Stoic, famous Stoic philosophers. But then it also comes with this journal that whatever you read for the day, could be about basically like controlling what you can control, right? Not worrying about the other stuff. Well, then I got to write what that means to me twice a day, morning and an evening reflection. So it's pretty cool. It was like a transition for me. I've really been open to like just openness is probably the best word to whether it's spirituality, meditation, philosophy, like all of these things to like really dig deeper and open yourself up and become a better person, like understanding yourself better.
Yeah.
And how you present yourself and understanding and being open to the world more. So
let's go.
I don't know. I needed it. I just finished reading the Bible cover to cover for the last 2 years in a row. And I kind of walked away with that with more questions than answers.
Okay.
And I'm like, I need to go take a break from this and go down a different path than reading the Bible every day. And not that that's not important to me still, but
right.
I'm like, I want to go. I had an interest in the Stoic philosophers, and I'm like, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole for a little while, and I think it's just different, open perspective, to well-round you, to understand some past, and how you can apply it to today.
You mind if we ask some questions on that?
Sure.
You feel comfortable, the Bible questions? I'm curious because I just, I was going to text you and George, and then today just went crazy. I've listened to like the last 40 minutes or so of that podcast he sent us, the Sean Ryan one with the Bible guy.
Oh, I haven't even listened to that one yet.
So he, I forget whatever, some biblical scholar guy, and he's like done all these things. He started as a historian, and I don't want to butcher him because I didn't listen. It's like over 3 hours long, and so I just did like the last 45 minutes on the way to the gym this morning.
Right.
And
was it the guy that talked about the comparison from the Roman?
I think so. Yeah, his name's like something. He's from Canada or something.
It might be the same guy. I literally just listened to that this morning as well.
Let's see. It's long. I was like, bro, how do you?
I'm gonna have you send me that book that you're doing, the journal.
Oh, remind me at the end.
Okay,
I'll show you. I'll pull it up on my phone.
I'm super. So I have I've gone through one that is a founding fathers quote book that I've read through. I've read through Marcus Aurelius's was it Marcus Aurelius?
There's like an audio on Marcus Aurelius.
No, I'm also thinking of, oh man, now I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, I find that stuff fascinating. So if I get a chance to, I always deep dive. I pick like something new to read about. Like right now I'm reading C.S. Lewis's like commentary on a few things. But yeah, I try to find something different. That's just like, it's like my late night read. It's what I read like right before I go to bed because it's just, I find it fascinating, but it's also not fascinating enough to keep me up, but enough to like settle my mind and like hang it up, then close it and go to bed. So I'm gonna have to grab that from you, but.
I do mine first thing in the morning. I
like that.
I read, and it's been, depending on what I'm doing, whether it's Bible or Stoics or whatever.
Yeah.
So I read I do my Stoic, and then I journal first thing in the morning before I go do my workout. And the reading, I alternate between two books. It's either a book of, I'm just interested in the story. It could be some kind of like military book or something like that. And then when I'm done with that one, the next book is learning something like personal development. And the next one up in the queue is on Buddhism.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Nice.
I'm just super interested in, like I said, just open perspective, looking at different ways of thinking, different religions, different ideologies.
Let's go.
That's what this entire podcast, I'm assuming the entire podcast is. I only did 45 minutes.
I'll listen
But
to
the guy's name is Wes Huff. He's a Canadian Christian apologist, theologian, public speaker specializing in the reliability in ancient biblical manuscripts and the defense of the Christian worldview. He was born in Pakistan. Kind of like a crazy story from like what I just heard of him. And so Sean Ryan's like asking him a bunch of like different questions on, obviously the Bible and all that stuff. And from what the part I listened to, he's talking about like, cause you said you read the Bible and it left you with more questions. So Sean basically just asked him like, what is it about Christianity that you believe in so much? Like, why is it Christianity? And he goes, that's a great question. He's like, cause I didn't come from religion or whatever. I think his parents were missionaries, but I don't think he was. He was like, I come from a history perspective. He was a historian. And so, history, obviously, any historian is not going to be able to go through history without learning about the Bible and Jesus and ancient Israel and all of that, right? And so there was this part he said that like stuck out to me because it's a question I feel like we get asked in a roundabout way quite often about like, how can the Bible be true? And he said, if you look at it from, what he wanted to be was a detective. That's what he wanted to be. He didn't want to become a theologian, or a theologian,
A detective about the Bible.
Right? And he goes, well, it's interesting because I took the mindset of being a detective. He's like a detective and a historian or a researcher is very similar, right? You're using the same skills because you're having to actually physically research something. He made an analogy of, I'm going to butcher this, man. So something along the lines of if there's, I can't even say it because I don't want to mess it up. But he's just talking through this stuff. And he goes, as a historian in trying to prove something wrong, he was like, there's so much evidence in the Bible that's been proven, through whatever, other ancient artifacts or other timelines from across the world, everything that they've found that has evidence of being true and recorded. He goes, you do the same thing as a researcher or a detective, right? You go and you ask if there's 10 people around, you go and you ask those 10 people, and those 10 people have 10 different stories. And he says, but with the Bible, and the reason I believe it to be the only truth when it comes to any of that, he says, there's so many countless records that Jesus was real and that Jesus was this guy that came, as a man, did all these things from tons of accounts. And then he even breaks it further through of a bunch of the tablets that have been recovered and restored and like the different apostles that weren't published in the Bible.
Yeah.
And he goes, you can verify all these different things. And if there's hundreds of stories all pointing back to the same thing, he's like, it's the only thing that you can say has that much proof from a bunch of different people's accountability, like perspectives. And like when he said it that way, I was like, oh my gosh, I've actually never really heard it that way. And so for him, he's like, if we're just going based off of pure research and history, he was like, you can't deny from the amount of stories and accounts from real life people from real life different times, and all their stories match up about Jesus. He's like, there's other things you can have questions about for sure, like, timelines or, Old Testament, anything written before Moses type stuff. He's like, there's other parts of the Bible you can definitely maybe pick and choose to like kind of pick apart type thing. But he's like, the one evidence like based factual thing you cannot prove wrong is the existence of Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like,
That is cool.
whoa. But he said it in a more elegant way with lots of big words and books that I've never even heard of and people I've never even heard of. But when he said that, I was like, oh shoot. Because the guy that sent it to Jordan and I he's an asker. He's an open, free thinker, really believes that there's a God, right? But what I think he's believing more so now in Christianity and that, but he's very much so like, well, how is it this God? Why can't it be Buddha, or why can't it be Allah, or why can't it be XYZ? But it was very interesting.
That is cool.
And I just rambled a lot. So
No,
sorry.
it's these are things I think about a lot about. And when I didn't grow up in a religious family. Later on, I found out that my grandmother was pretty religious, but like we didn't go to church as a family. So like it just was never a part of my life. And my wife grew up that way. And I noticed that she was, she has some app or something, like she reads like a Bible verse every day, and her family goes to church. So that kind of in the back of my mind became more important to me to like make that part of my life. And one of my mentors, the guy that coached me for a little while, started getting more and more religious. He was turned away from it for a while. He grew up a missionary.
Okay.
And that's like a whole different story. That's
Right.
that's like a weird sort of life that they live. And he was turned off by it for a while and came back to it. So religion started becoming a little bit more of a topic in our coaching. And I just was, like I said, I mean, like I discussed with you guys, I'm just open to different ideologies, and,
Right.
and I don't have all the answers.
Right.
So I committed to, I'm going to read the Bible in a year. And when I did the first one, it was an audio,
Okay.
which I really loved. And then I committed to wanting to read my grandmother's Bible. Ooh. That I still to this day don't know why. It was something that I was called to when she died, and I went back to Georgia, and my mom and her sister were like going through things. My mom was like, "Hey, what do you want?" And I'm like, "I don't want anything. Like, I want my grandmother back. You know, like I don't want anything." But her Bible was there and had notes in it that she took from church, and I'm like, "I want that."
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't really know why. I just took it and I put it in my nightstand. And then when it came time to read it, it's a King James version.
Oh, brutal.
So
read.
I tried, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so brutal. I have more questions about what this word even means than anything. So I ended up finding a men's study Bible and read through that. And I think the hard part that I had, the audiobook was great. There were some things where I'm like, I don't know, did that really happen? Was there like an 8-headed dragon, like weird things? And then when I read it, I just had a hard time. What I do have a hard time with is turning off my logical brain.
Yeah.
What it did for me was my logical brain would kick in and be like, there's no way that happened. How could that possibly have happened? How does somebody even know that happened? There was nobody else around to document that.
Yeah.
So I'd start doing that in my head, and then it was like there was a sign that was shown to me. We went to church as a family, and one of the messages was, I choose to believe. Mm-hmm. And it was something that just struck me like, yeah, choose to believe. Like I could pick apart this whole Bible, or I could choose to believe, or I could choose to apply the lessons that are in here, whether they're true, whether I believe they're true or not. There are tons and tons and tons of lessons that I can apply to my life and how I live. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I transitioned from reading the Bible every day to doing this philosophy, but it doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, I'm done with that. I'm never going to open it or look at it or never go to church. It just was like, I want a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think I want to listen to the whole episode of that guy based off of that last bit I listened to. Cause I think I grew up in the church, had my time of like walking away from the church type thing, but I was never one of those, the church hurt and God hurt is real. But I think where a lot of it comes from and stems from is people having a bad experience with somebody that is affiliated with the church, right? But that to me is not a valid enough argument to just be like, oh, no, Christianity is awful. It's the same thing where I say, like just like the whole in today's world, like one bad cop now makes every police officer a bad individual, right? Like that's just not true. I could say the same thing about a doctor that molested a little kid, right? Are all doctors bad? No, that one freaking douche was bad, but that doesn't make all of them bad.
Right.
And so like when it comes to the Christian world, I do believe there's church hurt, and I do believe people abuse their power in religious spaces. I do. That's been proven through history.
That's a fact.
You know?
Yeah.
But what I always encourage people to think about is like religion is to me, it's man-made. Religion is man-made. Like the biblical accounts, you know, that guy was talking about, and Jesus and my faith in Jesus is not the religion. You know, I believe Jesus to be like, you know, the Lord and Savior. That's what I believe to be true. And I do have to choose to believe that could be true. Because logistically speaking, there is so many things where you're like, bro, no one was in the whale with Jonah. You know, like who was in there?
Yeah.
Like no one. I mean, maybe someone saw him get swallowed up. Maybe not. But I think going through and asking those questions is the way it should be. Because if you just blindly followed something without some form of a faith component, you know, but also I think there's logistical things in the Bible that also make sense because it's been proven with all the technology that we have. But then there's also logistical things, and I'm like, how the heck would that happen? Like you said. But
I think it was cool. Actually, like our pastor this Sunday, because we go to the same church, was talking about how curiosity is a great thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Christianity, and not just to be like, yeah, sure, about everything. He's like, no, like curiosity is like what sparks so much great things. And he's like, it's good to be curious. And so he's like, a lot of times, you know, quote unquote Christians will kind of give you a hard time if you're like, I'm curious, why is this? Why is this? Like, whoa, don't ask those questions. It's like, no, that's actually really stupid. Like, we should be asking those questions. But I love that. And it makes sense, dude. Like, for your brain, when you were like, I had to choose to believe, like, for our audience that don't know, your background, you know, being, you know, doing fire and being a paramedic and all that kind of stuff, like, that's very logical. Like, hey, this is happening because of this, because of this, because of this. And you've spent years in that field going, okay, I'm getting to this conclusion because I see these signs, these things, these patterns, and I can, within, you know, reason, conclude that this is probably what's going on. So your brain is naturally going to be wired that way. So to try to unwire yourself and rewire yourself, which is entirely possible, right? We all know that now. Takes practice and takes time. So that's cool. What led you down this desire now to go down like the philosophy route to start reading those and like journaling? Like we got to talk about it a little bit off air, but like what sparked this? Have you always had this like, hey, I really want to be like the best version of myself. I love helping men get better. I love having these kind of conversations. Is that something you've always loved doing? Or is it something that you've kind of like found a hunger for in the last couple of years? Like,
certainly in the last couple of years, I mean, the last 4 or 5 years, I have found it and continue to find it and continue to look for it.
Yeah.
Because I think when you do make a massive change in your life, it also opens you up to realize, looking back at your past, at who you were. You know, I used to blame everybody for all the problems that surrounded my life. And then now I think this, like creating some really strong habits opened up a lot for me, to be honest with myself and take ownership of things that I did in my past. So no, I think looking back, there was a lot that, was I a bad guy? No, but was I pretty selfish and self-centered in a lot of things that I did and not create space for people around me? I think I was. I was involved in some bad relationships, and I always blamed them. It was all them, not me. And now I can look back and go, okay, it's a relationship. It takes two, right? I played a part in there somehow. Maybe the relationship was destined to fail no matter what, but I certainly played a part, and I didn't do anything to foster making that better. So when I hired a coach, because I realized, okay, I'm a coach. Coaches need coaches too. There's something that I haven't figured out on my own. I need some accountability. And when I hired my coach, even when I hired him, it was oh man, I think I got it all figured out. I just need some help with my nutrition and I need someone to help me be accountable. And little did I know, fast forward a year when I really started engaging in the Zoom calls and the group chats and having one-on-one conversations with the men in my group. That was what really made the difference and flipped the switch for me. Because even when I was in it for that year, I was like, okay, I'm kind of in it. I lost a few pounds. I've leaned up. I look more the part of a guy that's a fitness enthusiast. But I still had the mindset of like, oh, I'm in a coaching group, but I'm not looking for more friends. I'm not looking for a men's group. And I didn't have success until I really leaned into that and had conversations with men and went like, it was like, oh, we have some similarities here. Or if I was down on myself for something and I had a conversation with a guy that had a really bad childhood or something really bad going on in his life, you're like, oh, he's got it way worse than me. And I might be able to help him with some perspective in what he's going on with either my leadership background with the fire service or my life experience, maybe my positive outlook on things where he's a negative guy, whatever. It's those conversations. It's like going to church, it's if you surround yourself with other men that are like-minded, that are looking for help, maybe they're screaming for help and they don't really know how to yet, but you create this safe space in a group where, it just really opened me up to a lot of things. I've had men admit things to me that they haven't admitted to their own wives that I know about. I've had 2 instances that I can think of immediately off the top of my head where I literally talked the gun out of somebody's mouth that was so depressed on thinking they were such a, loser, low life, problems in their life. So all of those experiences is what opened me up to this different mindset of looking for more. I think I was stuck like so many men are. And I think Ben and I loosely had this conversation. Or maybe it was at the coffee shop with Brianna, one of the servers there. But I think there's so many men out there, not that they're living a bad life. They're just going through the motions of, hey, I go out with the boys and I go drink and I come home and I'm with my family, but I'm on social media or I'm playing Xbox or whatever. So you're checked out. You're not giving them the best version of yourself. And there was one thing, and I probably won't read it all, but it's the reason why I brought this little book. When I hired my coach and I was going through some changes, one day my wife made a comment to me and she just said, hey, thank you for being so present. Like I've noticed a big difference. And she said that to me, but then she followed it up with a post on Instagram for my birthday about thanking me for what an amazing dad I was, what a great husband, the fact that I take good care of myself and I have the energy to play with my 5 or 6 year old at the time, and thinking immaturely for my age, just kind of being young at heart. And like it was just this really amazing post, and I'm like, that is what it's all about right there. Like I don't care what I do outside of my family and my home for work, friendships, anything else. Like that whole lifestyle of getting caught up in that social norm of going out all the time and not being home and doing whatever it is you do, like it's not working, and it's little things you notice, like when I'm gone in the morning and my kids wake up, they're like, oh, where's dad? Oh, never mind, he's at the gym. Like they know, without fail, they know that I'm dedicated and I'm committed, and I will work harder than anybody to first learn to love myself so that I can love them. So that's all of those. And I mean, we could talk about this for, several hours, but that's in a nutshell, like everything that opened me up to, man, what else can I look into to make me better? How can I make myself a better version? Like, how can I keep reinventing that? Because no matter what, like there is no peak. And I talk about this with some of the guys I coach, like it's an uphill battle all the time. You might have a success and get to this little peak, and then you're like, oh, damn, it's a false peak. I still got to go up, right? Like the uphill climb never ends. Like you can't just go, oh, I made it. I got fit. My family loves me. I'm reading the Bible every day. Like, cool, I can just coast. No, like you almost have to work harder to attain, to maintain that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's building those habits and that discipline doesn't eliminate the pits that you're going to fall into, but it makes those pits a lot smaller. And it gives you the framework for how to get out of it, because you've become aware of what you used to do, and now that standard is just like way higher than what it used to be.
It's the exact same thing that we talked about off air with your fitness too. Like we were just saying that, like, you know, you can be the person that lives a very sedentary lifestyle and just stuff happens, you know, and that life happens to you. And now, you know, now your health's down here, but you were already down here. And now you're trying to dig yourself out of a bigger pit, where it's like, we talked about my dad who went through the heart surgery. He stayed extremely fit, and then he had a quadruple bypass. And man, his recovery time was just crazy because he stayed physically and mentally strong throughout that entire moment. It's like life is, there's going to be challenges in life. Like that's just life. There's going to be those moments that just suck. And if you are fit and you have the right mindset and you're doing all the things beforehand, it makes those moments to come out of them just that much easier. And it's like, and then you get to have these moments like what you just said your wife did, you know, where she, you know, where they make that kind of comment. I don't know about you, but like when my wife makes that kind of comment about me, like I can run through a freaking brick wall in that moment. I'm like, yes, I'm doing something. I'm on the right path. And like just a little bit of encouragement from her at the right spot, man, I will take on the world for that. And so I love that. I just got, that went nowhere other than I was just like, that got me all fired up.
No, but you know what? Like, my wife is probably the only person in this world that when she says I'm proud of you, it's the only person that like that really matters. Mm-hmm. Like it has such deep meaning to me when she says it. Like anybody else that says it, I don't care. Like I'm doing my life and I'm doing what I need to do for me and my family. But when I was driving here to do this today, she goes, hey, have fun. I'm proud of you. And I'm like immediately, like almost get choked up, tear in the eye. I'm like, man, that's the only person that I want. I mean, other than my kids, it's the only person that I want to make proud.
Yeah. Right. Well, she sees you in all forms, and there's that sense of really seeing you, you know, that most don't get, you know, like when you're at home with your wife, good or bad, right? Like they're going to see, unless you're a fake person, then you got your own problems that you got to probably figure out. But my wife gets all versions of me, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's mediocre, whether it's I'm clean, whether I'm dirty, whether I'm lazy, whether I'm fat, whether I'm fit. She gets all of it, you know, and she gets the best part, she gets the okay parts, and she gets the worst parts. And so when they do say something like that, if you care, because you're trying to be a good dude or a good human being, then yeah, it should be the only one that matters, you know. I think that's what most men should strive for and towards. Is if you aren't married yet and you're listening, like strive for that. Strive to make, you know, your spouse proud, and then from there your children, you know, because we talk about it often, but the way we treat our spouses, that's what the kids are going to actually see. You know, if I tell my son, hey, we treat women with respect, and then I go and never respect my wife, what are they going to learn? You know, they're going to obviously see the way I'm actually treating mom versus how I say to be treated. Yeah. And so I think that, you know, you're right there for that's what should matter is, you know, when my wife says something like that to me, I'm like, yes, like, cool. All right. All these other doofuses that want to say X, Y, and Z about me because of a cup that says ice, ice, baby, they don't actually know who I am, you know?
Right.
But I just did what you did, rambled, because it fired me up.
What's up, guys? Jordan here from the Good Dude, Good Dad podcast. Huge shout out to our sponsor, BioPro. Ben and I have been on it for a while now, but I got to tell you this. Nothing is more important to a dad than sleep. We usually don't get a lot of it, and it's usually not great quality. But ever since I started taking BioPro plus cortisol, my sleep has been phenomenal. So go check them out in our show notes down below. There are a few things in life that I enjoy more, and I argue any man enjoys more than a good cup of coffee in the morning. That's why I use veteran-owned and operated Hidden House Coffee. Hidden House Coffee roasts here in Santa Ana, California. They have locations in Santa Ana, San Juan, or San Clemente. But you can go to hiddenhousecoffee.com and use GDGD on your checkout to receive a discount. I highly recommend going with their coffee subscription. But yes, if you want a great cup of coffee, not a good cup of coffee, a great cup of coffee, go to hiddenhousecoffee.com. Thank you to our sponsors, NextGen. NextGen Industries is committed to advancing longevity, wellness, and strength through precision-driven innovation. Select products are USA finished and manufactured, meaning they are held to a pharmacy-grade, FDA compounding pharmacy standard. Each product is sterile, isotonic, and pH balanced, rigorously tested for purity and quality, and provided a certificate of analysis. That's because at NextGen Industries, transparency, performance, and long-term health come first. Yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit because you talked about, when you got to a point where you hired a coach. So we didn't really go into too much background. I actually personally know you, not super well.
We kind of go back.
We kind of go back. Back to the day when I worked on the ambulance. This is for everybody else at home. When I worked on the ambulance, you were a captain at the station that I ran with regularly. And back then, and I still know people in your circle, and this is not to fluff you at all, but I know you're very highly respected in your community. And I knew that when we got there, the guys that were training me, hey, if you want to be with a captain, this is the captain you want to be with. He does hold that gold standard. And I'm setting this all up because I want you to tell what you're doing now too, and what brings the credibility that you have is that, the guys that we looked up to look up to him. And I actually remember this moment. I was just on the ambulance, and someone asked me if I knew how to take a blood sugar. It was so dumb. It was like a blood sugar. And I was like, yeah, I know how to take it because I'd done EMT school. It's great. And so I got the thing, and the Lancet was different than the Lancet that I was used to. And so the first thing I did is I pulled it, which is what I was supposed to do with the one I had, and it triggered it. And I was like, okay. So I grabbed another one, and I pulled it, and it triggered it. And I was like, and I didn't want to look stupid, so I didn't ask for help. And you had watched me, and I pulled the third one, and you grabbed it from me. You go, hey, don't say you know how to do something you don't know how to do. Be willing to ask for help. And it was that was, I think, my second call on the ambulance. And it sounds hilarious. And in the moment, I was so embarrassed, but that set the tone for me. And I can't tell you how many times I told that to other new guys. I shared that exact story. And I was like, he watched me do it 3 times, and he gave me 3 chances to ask. And I didn't ask any of those 3 times. And then he stepped in and corrected me, and then they went and did it themselves. And I was like, so let that be a lesson. If you don't know how to do something, it's okay to ask. Stop and ask so that you can get it right, and so you can do it right the first time so you're a better part of the team. And so when we connected online, I was like, you're like, hey, I'd love to do the podcast with you guys. I was like, oh, heck yeah. I'm so down. This is so cool. And then to see now what you're doing. So you work for the fire service, but you also do coaching, correct?
Correct.
So how did you get into that? What do you do a little bit? Give a little background with that, how you do it, and then, we'll just go from there.
Yeah. It's so hard, when somebody compliments you, it's so hard to take sometimes.
No, I know.
I just do me, but the last time I ran into you, and then now you're always so flattering to what I do, and I love that, and I think that's why the guys I work around enjoy having me around and having me as their boss, because I don't hold myself above them. For one, my job is to create more leaders. My job is to train people, and my job is to be patient. Sometimes my wife will remind me at home, how come you're more patient with the guys at work than you are with me? But it's I'm a work in progress. But yeah, I've been in the fire service for 30 years. Even if you count some reserve time I did, it's been about 33, 34 years that I've been doing this, counting working on an ambulance and doing that whole thing. So I'm going on 34 years of never sleeping in my bed every single night at home. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Retirement will be very cool to be home every single day. I'm sure it's going to be adjustment for myself and my wife.
Yeah.
But so I've been doing that 30 years. And I think one key difference, so, you put yourself in roles no matter whether you're a firefighter, an engineer, a captain, or you move on up, you can establish yourself as a leader in any of these roles, and it's instructing classes to other people. You know, you're a leader and you're a mentor. As an engineer, you're kind of the second guy in charge. And as a captain, certainly you're supervising and managing and leading different projects. And then you take that step into being a chief, and now you put on a different color uniform. And based on a lot of guys' experiences, they've had maybe negative experiences with their leadership. So they're like, oh, like we don't ever want to see the chief, or why is the chief here? I've never had that reaction from my guys because I don't hold myself above them. I wore their uniform a lot longer in my career than I've worn mine. And I never forget that my job is to inspire and mentor and create more leaders. My job is to communicate, which means listening more than I speak. And my job is to trust them to do their job. I don't micromanage. I'm not in the weeds for what they do. I give them enough rope to either work with it or hang themselves with it. And if they hang themselves with it, we'll deal with it. And I tell them, I'm like, hey, if you make me do my job, you got to realize that's a failure on your part. And it's not personal for me. And if we're friends and we work out or we grab coffee or whatever we do off duty, I hope that doesn't change for you, because it doesn't change for me. You have forced me to do my job. I would much rather meet you at your station and see how you guys are doing or what you need, or have a cup of coffee with you. And so that's kind of been my whole take on what I do. And for several years now, I have taught our leadership and employer relations section to our up-and-coming captains and our up-and-coming chief officers. So that really sparked for me teaching and coaching more on the leadership side of things, and got this idea in my head of becoming a coach, or even consulting with businesses and going in and being like, hey, let me embed with your people. And this is a project that I'm still kind of dabbling in, trying to figure out if I want to do, but like embedding with the employees and find out like, hey, what's working for you? What's not working? And then get together with the leaders and go, hey, here's the problem. Here's why your productivity is not good. Here's why, your people don't trust you, whatever the problem is. So the fire service is what sparked that interest for me. As far as the fitness side of things, I've been a coach and a trainer for 20 plus years. So working out has always been a part of my life. I've done sports, I've done different activities, I've done fitness. So when it came time to, what do you put together that works great? Fitness, nutrition, mindset, leadership, and put it all together. And part of what putting that together for me was hiring a coach, because it's not that I didn't have it figured out. It's that I knew I needed a change. I knew I needed somebody to hold me accountable. And when I hired the coach was during COVID. My wife and I were literally the definition of fat, dumb, and happy, right? Like great life, no complaints. Could I be a better husband? Sure. Could I have been present more? Sure. But a lot of our life, especially during COVID, revolved around drinking. My neighbors, which was the positive part of COVID, we got to know all of our neighbors, because they'd come home and they're like, oh, is Brian on shift today, or is his garage open and is the music on? They'd come over, we'd set up our beach chairs 6 feet apart, of course, right? I'd get my fire pit out, the drinks would be flowing, we had a great time, maybe a little too great. And my wife and I just realized, like, man, my wife's been a trainer and a manager at fitness places for 20 plus years too. So we both have that mindset, and it's like, we need to get back on track. So we both hired coaches. We both started getting on these Zoom calls, and people started reaching out to us more based on our experiences, leadership, fitness, whatever it was. We started having a lot more conversations, and that led to getting offered jobs. I ran operations for a 7-figure coaching business for a little while, and it was because I've got a proven leadership background in the fire service, but I demonstrated myself in how I showed up as a client. I went from like kind of being mediocre guy, like I lost a few pounds, I got a little bit more leaner and more fit like I was, but I still, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't leaning into the other guys in the program. I wasn't being a leader for them. And one of the guys that I had become friends with, him and I had sort of similar stories or similar paths. He reached out to me one day. He's like, "Oh, I'm just calling to see how things are going or whatever." And in this program, it was your goal was this transformation of getting posted, which meant you had this before and after picture on Instagram, which I did. But at the time, it wasn't my goal. I'm like, I'm not looking for attention. I don't want to be on there with my shirt off, whether it was the old me or the new me or whatever. And he was like, "Why not? Like, you're a leader. Like, don't you want to lead by example with these other guys in here?" And it was like, just however he phrased it, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, man, he's right. Like, how can I be such a great leader at work and maybe I needed improvement at home? And why am I not doing it here? I joined a program and I'm half-assing it. I'm not going full 100 miles an hour, towards this goal. So, all of that combined with, I think, like, here's the hard part to explain to people. And maybe this is just for me, but I've seen this with a lot of other clients as well. It's not about having a six-pack, but when you dial in your fitness and you show up and make a commitment every single day that, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. The first thing I do and the hardest thing I do in the morning is cold plunge. I read, I journal, I go to the gym. I've gotten, personal development, journal, like whatever my plan for the day is, that's all done before my family's awake. Now, guess what? You've just created space for your business. You've created space for your family. You've created space just to be involved. And that, that habit changing stuff of just the fitness and some of those little habits translates to better mindset, more presence, more commitment. And maybe not for everybody, it's because there was a while that I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm fit. I could be 300 pounds. As long as my wife and my kids love me and think that I'm the best dad and husband ever, then yeah, cool. You could be 300 pounds, but how much more seriously, I can't remember. I think we were talking about it early on, as far as like, it was jujitsu that we were talking about, right? Like, if you look a certain way, you are going to be taken more serious than if you look, as guy number B, right?
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, that's what we do, right? Whether you want to or not, we have biases and you immediately make judgments and think things about people. So carry yourself in the best way you can. And when you're fit, those of us that are fit and take this seriously, like, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong journey. And, that's how I want to be. I want to be there for my wife and my kids. And I want to be the 75-year-old guy jumping on a trampoline with my grandkids. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be the guy that can't move, is riddled with, heart disease and diabetes and all these other things that are out there. I want to be the guy that's around.
Yeah. Well, I think there's been, I don't know where it happened. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know where it happened in the society and the way people perceive things. But I feel like we lost, it's not about, like you said, the six-pack. It's not about this, oh my gosh, I have to look like the most shredded. Yeah, like that's a cool point, but fitness is an actual encompassing tool that enables us to be better, right? Like, when I'm not training jiu-jitsu specifically or like, like I said, I do functional workouts. I don't lift weights anymore. Like that heaviest dumbbell I had in my garage for the longest time was a 50. Now I have 70s, but like the point in saying that is like I do my functional fitness and I train jiu-jitsu. When I don't have those in my life, other things start to fall, by the wayside a little bit, whether it's me being a little bit more snappy with my wife, my kids, coworker, whatever it is. Then I notice my habit building that I've spent so long building, I start to compromise. I didn't sleep good tonight, so I'm going to, wake up at 7 instead of 5. Or well, I'm not exercising right now, so I might as well eat this cookie. You know, you're breaking these habits that you built for yourself through fitness. And I think we just have lost this perspective on body love and not body shaming, and no one's shaming it. But if you don't treat yourself first the way that you should be treating in order to be the better version of you, how are you going to ever be the better version? Like, I think there's just this blindness to, you got to love everyone in all shapes and sizes. And yes, you do. Like, treating with respect and love is one component, but we've just shifted this I'm trying to say it in like such a different way. We've basically like created a society where it's okay to not take care of yourself. And then when you want to take care of yourself, you're considered, this person that only cares about looks, or you're so shallow, or you're so surface level. And it's like, no, it's not. It's taking care of yourself. Like, you get one body. Like, we get one of these.
There was a friend of mine that used to say, show me a dad with a six-pack and I'll show you a bad dad. And I couldn't disagree with that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I may have loosely mentioned this earlier, but you have to learn to love yourself first, which on the surface level maybe appears to be selfish. But once you learn to love yourself first, you create this space and energy to be able to love others.
Yeah.
You can't really, and this comes from experience and time and putting in the hard work, but you can't create that space for somebody else and that love for somebody else if you're not happy with yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever, and it doesn't have to be going to the gym. It could just be creating space for you. An example that comes to mind is, I've been coming home from shift forever, and station and home do not run together. And my wife has had to remind me that over the years, right? Like the well-oiled machine and everybody on time or early or everything in its place at work does not apply at home. And, I would come home and I'd immediately like, God, why is that there? How come the laundry's not done? Like, not even knowingly. Like, I wasn't knowingly picking on my wife, but it just was instinctively happening because at work, man, everything better be in its place, right?
Right.
I need to know that that's there on an emergency, right? It can't be in a different drawer or whatever. Well, home doesn't run that way. Like, it's a family. There's kids. There's a dog. There's all these other factors. So just even, like I said, not just physically, but just even mentally creating some space. Like, I had to realize I couldn't bring that energy home anymore because my wife was like feeling less than, like, oh my God, I'm walking on eggshells. Brian's coming home today. Like, I'm looking forward to him coming home, but I'm worried. Is everything in its place? And I'm like, what kind of life is that? Like, I don't want my wife to be worried when I'm coming home. I want her to embrace me when I come home. So I had to stop listening to anything political or podcast or anything on the way home. Like, because you think about it, your mind is still so engaged in whatever you're listening to, there's no break.
Yeah.
I had to either just turn off the radio for a little bit or put on a comedy channel or pull into the driveway and count to 10 and take some deep breaths because I didn't want to bring that energy home. And that was me learning to kind of love myself so that I could come home and bring that love home, instead of this like angry, this angry issues that, who knows what, like whether it's day to day or over 30 years in the fire service, I'm probably carrying around a bunch of baggage that I'm just bringing home with me.
For sure.
Oh, 100%. We've talked about that too. I mean, but being able to have the awareness of before you walk in the door, I've actually heard a lot of people talk about this lately, and I know we have too, that before you walk in the door, give yourself a few seconds just to like sit. Like before you, and my wife, if I sit in the car too long, she's like, what are you doing out there? But
it gets weird if it's too long.
Weird. Yeah. She's like, are you coming in? But just to sit and just like, okay, like I need to leave all that here because like when I go home, it's time to take off my work hat and put on my my dad and husband hat and make that transition smoothly.
Well, yeah, your kids don't care what happened to you during the day at work. They don't.
And they don't know.
And they don't need to know.
Yeah.
It's not their jobs to know that. Their jobs to know that dad's home. That means I get to have my dad. And you're not alone in that when you said your wife has to remind you sometimes, you know. Like my wife has to, and now my 7-year-old daughter is now chiming in with my wife. But my wife will have to remind me sometimes, like, hey, like you gave your best to all those people all day long. Like, why do we get your last? And I like that shift for me was like, oh shoot, you know. And I still have my moments, man. Like we're men, we're human, right? We're not superhuman. You're gonna fail at some point. But like Jordan called me yesterday, and we have this thing going right now because Jordan has like a big dog job now. And so he always big dogs me, right? Like
you didn't pick up my phone call. You big dog me.
He literally calls me, and I saw it, and I was with my daughter. I picked her up from school. Usually it's always rush, right? I grab her from school and we jet to the gym because I help coach the kids class. And it's like, we got to go. And she's like, Dad, why aren't we rushing? And that was like clue one for me. I was like, dang, dude, like I've created this habit on Tuesdays now with my daughter that she knows like it's pick up. We're not talking to any of the parents. It's like, hi, bye, we got to go. And she's like, why aren't we rushing? We got to get to jiu-jitsu. And I was like, I thought we'd just not go today. And she kind of looked at me and she like gave me this smile. And I was like, how do you feel about that? And she's like, okay, you know. And then I was like, what if we just went and got a cool little treat? What would you think about that? She's like, yeah, but what about Bo's class? So don't worry about Bo. Like, how would you feel about that? And she's like, yeah, you know, I'd love that. And I was like, okay, cool. Where do you want to go? And we went to Hidden House San Juan. I was like, can I get a coffee? Because I know she associates that place when we go in, that means, oh, Dad's going to work, you know, or he's going to get stopped and talked to for 15 hours. And I said, don't worry, we're not going to do any of that. I'll just grab a coffee and we'll leave. And then we went to the new River Street Market and got like, there's a new acai bowl place that opened. And she's like, I want to get acai. I was like, okay, cool. And was zero times that I touched my phone because she has become so aware of sometimes I'm on my phone, you know, not sometimes, a lot of the time I'm on my phone right now. And sometimes I'm not doing anything. And a lot of the times lately I am actually like, you know, putting fires out or problem solving or
theoretical fires.
Yeah, theoretical. Or sometimes real fires.
Right.
Sorry, I had to throw in a little.
But my point in saying that is she's only 7, all right? But she is now so aware because, you know, things like my wife saying like, hey, you know, you gave them your best. And I love that she has that. Or me giving my daughter permission to call me. I've talked about that on the podcast. I've given her permission to call me out when I'm on my phone. And, you know, sometimes and she's taken it literal. So now sometimes when I'm on my phone for more than just like a second, she's like, Dad, are you working? And I'm like, right now I am. Just give me like 1 minute. I'll send it and I'll put it down. She's like, okay, cool. And sometimes she'll walk in and be like, are you just scrolling Instagram? And I'm like, you know, I actually am right now. She's like, okay. And then walks away with her little attitude. But yesterday, a couple nights ago, I didn't preface this. A couple nights ago, I was putting her down for bed. I skipped jiu-jitsu because rolled my ankle. And she's like, hey, Dad, I wanted to share that. Like, I feel like lately you've just been on your phone a lot. And I've noticed it, and it's really, like, affecting me. And I was like, oh. Like, I got, you know, trying not to get emotional in it because I didn't, you know. But I was like, yeah, you're right, I have. And it doesn't matter what's happening. Like, you're right, you know. Because, again, it's not her job to understand the things that I'm trying to do to provide for my family right now. It's not, she doesn't need to know any of that.
And what an adult comment for her to say.
Dude,
yeah. His daughter is...
It's pretty wild.
She's 7 going like on 21.
Yeah.
Like she is, and she's one of the smartest kids I've ever met.
It's pretty radical. And I need that in my life sometimes where I need the gut punch from Jordan. I need the gut punch from my wife. But when my daughter does it, because she holds that place in my heart that nobody else does, I'm like, oh. And so that's why the spontaneous date. And so he texts me, he's like, oh, you big dogging me? And I made it very clear to her though, hey, we're going to go spend whatever. We were together with her an hour and a half, got some treats, got some snacks, went to a couple stores she wanted, tried to find a gift for my wife's birthday, all those things. And I told her, I was like, hey, sweetheart, when we get back to the car, I got to make some phone calls though. And she's like, no, okay. You just gave me like, you're good, Dad. Like, you don't need to tell me. I was like, okay, cool. And I'm saying that all to say of like, if we're not self-aware as men and leaders of our home or our work or whatever it is you're doing, because of the amount of time I've put into myself, like how the heck would I understand and realize what I'm doing to my daughter by just being on my phone? I could have just been the opposite and been like, well, you don't understand. You're 7. You're a kid. Like, I could have taken that approach, which a lot of guys do. And if you're one of those guys, I'm going to call you out because you should probably like look internally. It doesn't mean I don't do that sometimes. Yeah. I'm very honest. Like when I mess up, dude, but I own it, you know? But again, if I wouldn't be so in tune with the daily habits that I put in place for myself, fitness is one component, you know, getting up early is one component, you know, being on a diet is, you know, to whatever that means in the season is one component. It's just stacking habits. And every guy that is a high performer that we have had on here all has stacking habit abilities. Like, and if you're not doing that in your life, you're not going to be able to get to where you want. You're going to burn out. We're still going to burn out with those habits, but these habits are hopefully enough to get us back on track when we do feel that burnout.
Yeah.
And
you stack those wins.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than if you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I rambled again. I ramble a lot.
That's
it's
okay.
because when we get
That's
on
okay.
these like trajectories or these paths, like it's why Jordan and I are doing this. It's why we show up every single week to have someone share their story and learn from each other and to be able to have these conversations that need to be had. And I don't know, we're just so passionate about it. So it's like, especially when it comes to the self-awareness in my own life and when it affects my family, like I am so passionate about that. And yeah.
Well, that's why these are great. You know, I told my wife this, I mentioned it to Jordan, you know, I said, you know, I'm thinking about looking into like this, like doing a podcast, you know, because what I enjoy the most about coaching is the conversations, whether it's one-on-one in a group Zoom call, whether it's like this, shared experiences, learning from each other, applying it to your lives. Like this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what you're talking about with your daughter. They are watching everything we do.
Yeah.
And if you think back far enough about how you grew up, maybe good or bad habits that your parents did, like really think about some of the things you do today that maybe you don't even think about it, but you learned it from your parents, right? They're watching, like, and the good habits too, you know, hopefully. Both my boys work out. Both my boys jump in the cold plunge. Both my boys read the Bible every night. Like those aren't things that I have made them do. They've watched their dad do it. And there was a second part. Just making time. There was a TED Talk I listened to, and I wish I could remember this lady's name, but it was about saying yes. And it was her daughter, I believe, not a son, that was constantly asking mom to spend time with her and do things. And mom was like, no, later, I'm working. And this lady just decided one day, she's like, what am I doing? And she started saying yes. And it kind of reminded me of that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, right?
Yes Man, yeah.
But it worked, you know, like I just decided like, how many times did I say, hey, give me a minute, give me a few minutes. I can't right now. And I started applying that at home. And it could be, to your point, like, hey, we're going to do this, but then dad's got some work to do. All they want is our time.
Yeah.
And if you just say, I do this all the time at home. Hey, can we go on the trampoline? Yep, I'll give you 10 minutes. And then I got to finish this other thing. And then we'll play again later. But instead of saying, no, give me a minute, like unless you're on the phone, right, you got to, hey, give me a minute, I got to finish this. But if I'm not, and I'm just doing some other kind of work, it's like, yep, let's go.
Yeah.
And I just made that kid's day.
Yeah, for sure. I said, give me a minute this morning at 6:30. As you're saying that, I'm like playing it in my mind.
Think about it, and I still do it. I could be better at it, but I have become aware. Right? There's that word awareness again. I've become aware of it, and I've limited the amount of times I do that.
Yeah.
So funny enough, right before we got here, I was at a lunch with the head pastor of our church, and we were talking about this very thing. And he was like, he distinctively remembered this situation where he came home and his youngest son was out in the yard playing in the dirt with his toys. And he was like, Dad, will you come play with me? He's like, I can't right now. I got stuff to do. He's like, and I went upstairs and I got upstairs and I thought, he was like, you idiot. Like, what are you doing? Like, go back downstairs. So he's like, I immediately went back downstairs and we played in the dirt. And he goes, and I think that moment stuck out because I think that was the last time that he asked me to play with his toys in the dirt. He's like, I think that was the last time because after that, he like outgrew that stage. And he's like, and I remember that one very distinctly because those moments, he's like, you might say no a million times to those little things. He's like, but you never know when that's the last time they're going to ask that again. And we were talking about that because he's reminiscing. His son's about to leave for college. His youngest is about to leave for college. And I had a similar situation with my son the other day. Like I was in my office doing work, and my son goes, hey, Dad, like, can I just come in and hang out with you? And I was like, no, I got to do all these calls. No. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I get to work from home. Like, almost nobody gets a lot of people get to do it now, but not many people get to do this. And I was like, he just wants to sit in the room with me. Yeah. And so I like went upstairs. Our living room's upstairs. I was like, hey, dude, you want to come? Yeah, come on, let's go. And he just sat in the room with me while I worked for like an hour. He had like a magazine. I ended up throwing him my phone for a little bit so we could play with it. But that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be in the room with me and watch me do my thing. And I'm like, how many times do I say no to like silly things like that because I think it's going to be a slight inconvenience or like I don't have the time? And I'm like, what really matters is like training my son to be the man he needs to be and showing them that I love him. Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, like I can find 10 minutes, 20 minutes later on in the day to finish whatever the heck I was doing, but I can't get 10 or 20 minutes back with my son. Yeah. Like that time is going to pass. And then he's going to be gone having his own family, and I'm going to have all this time. And I'm like, I'm trying to be more intentional with those little moments when my kids are like, hey, Dad, I just really need you right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I feel like as men too, we have our priorities sometimes just so out of whack. And there's going to be some sacrifice somewhere. Like you said, you get up at 4 a.m. every morning. Like there's a sacrifice that comes with that. But the payout is so huge because you knocked all those things off your list and you got yourself in the right mindset. You've given yourself what you need for the day. You're now so much more available. Like you were saying, you're like, I got everything done. Now I have all this space for work and my kids. It's like, yeah, that's because you sacrificed a little bit on the front end to give yourself what you need. So now you can give your family what they need. And so, like, people listening to this, like, there is going to be sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice something, right? Like that famous saying, life is hard, everything's hard, choose your hard. It's hard to be fat. It's hard to be in shape. It's hard to be healthy. It's hard to be sick. It's hard to be a good dad. It's really hard to be a bad dad. There's going to be a hard somewhere. So just pick which version of the hard you want to live with.
Right. Well, and the reward, if you're a good dad, the reward is, how cool is it that your son just wanted to hang out with Dad?
Yeah.
You weren't doing anything exciting. He just was in the office with you. He wanted to be around you.
Yeah.
Because to your point, that and I don't know, getting older, like I get emotional about this with my kids. I think about like, what am I not going to be around for? Mm-hmm. Like, and I hate to be like so negative in that sense, but I'm like, what am I going to miss out on in their lives? And my wife and I just had this conversation this week with my teenage son who, man, he's the best kid. He's getting straight A's. He's on the baseball team. He's hanging out with a good group of boys. He goes to the gym every single day, like without fail. Like it's almost nauseating. And I'm like, oh my God, is that me? But he's such a good kid. And, my wife made a comment like, God, you're so like negative about him and all these practices and games that he goes to and everything. I'm like, no, I go, I'm sorry if it's coming off that way. I'm not being negative. I miss him. I said, I get it because I was a teenager too, and I wanted nothing to do with being home. So I get it, but I go, I miss seeing him. I feel like he's a stranger living in my house right now, and I want my son back. Like he was my best little buddy. My younger son is that right now, but it makes me even more aware of it. I'm like, man, when is that going to happen with him?
Yeah.
I don't have much longer before he's not going to want to hang out with Dad all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to embrace those moments. And if he's playing in the cars in the dirt, go do that because that might be the last time.
Yeah.
I know. And we live in a fast-paced world with instant gratification, right? And we're like kind of almost just living in this cycle where we feel as if we have to constantly do these things to just keep up, or that's what we're supposed to be doing. It's like this conditioning of life that we live in. And that's like, hey, like you're home from work. Yeah, you might need to like go chill out a second, or, there's all these other things that you didn't do because you were gone on shift or whatever, like I'm already thinking through the things. I'm like, wait, did I do this? Did I not do that? Did I go to the post office? Like all those things. And it's like, we're just conditioned to kind of go, but we're actually not designed to go. But, where can people find you? We always have guests do this. Jordan always links stuff at the end, but we always have people like say it out loud. So if they wanted to like get a hold of you, if they were interested in coaching with you, and then if there's a piece of advice you'd want to give somebody listening.
Yeah. So you could find me at my Instagram is Fit for Leading. So it's fit, the number 4 and leading. My website, the Fit for Leading was taken by somebody that wrote a book or whatever. So the website is fit4, FOR leading.com. And honestly, I'm happy to have conversations with people. I'm not a hardcore sales guy. I have a full-time job. My love of coaching is more for love of sharing my experiences, good and bad, with men and helping them become better versions of themselves. So even if somebody wants to reach out and have a conversation, there's no pressure that you're going to get from me ever to join my coaching program. It's either me or somebody else. I don't care. Like go attach yourself to a group, a coach, some type of leader, some kind of church group, men's group, whatever it is. Go constantly learn and go do that. So that's where you can find me. And then advice that I would give somebody. So I was thinking about this since you asked at the beginning. There's probably 2 things that I would say, and they go hand in hand together. One we talked about a lot is become disciplined. And becoming disciplined creates space. That's the second thing that I would say. If you learn to show up for yourself and do some hard things, men need to learn to do hard things, because you're not going to appreciate anything else unless you do hard stuff.
Yeah.
And show up every day, become disciplined, become dedicated, and become dependable. Like that's the biggest thing. If your wife and your kids can look at you like you're dependable, my dad shows up no matter what, that's a win right there. And that creates that second thing, which is creating the space and becoming present and becoming aware and being in the moment. I think back on some things, and this goes back to the comment that my wife made to me about, being proud of me and how present I was. That was in an era of our life where, hey man, if one beer's good, 8's better, right? Or if one whiskey's good, 4 or 5 or 6 are better. The other kind of odd thing that happens is when you cut those things out of your life, you start to appreciate, like, man, you know what? A beer tastes really good. I enjoy it. And you start thinking back, like, by the 3rd beer, did you really taste it?
No.
Or by the 3rd scoop of ice cream, did you taste it after a couple? Like, it doesn't mean that you have to, like, this is what people don't get, like, to be somebody that lives by a good nutritional plan doesn't mean that I don't live life. I could just take a bite of ice cream and get that dopamine rush and be happy, because I know 3 or 4 bites into that whole scoop, I'm not tasting it anyways. So what's the point? And really, like, food is fuel, right?
Yeah.
Like, most people would be so bored with, my wife and I'll be like, hey, what's for dinner tonight? She's like, the standard, chicken and rice and broccoli. I'm like, cool, love it. Like, I love the taste of it, but I don't need anything else either. It's giving me the nutrients and the fuel that I need. Like, I don't need, like, yeah, sure, is once in a great while a piece of pizza sound great? Sure, but I'm not going to crush a whole pizza like I used to.
Yeah.
My metabolism, like, even though it's pretty high for an older guy, like, man, I know what a pitcher of beer and a pizza does to me. So.
Yeah, that's good. Right.
Sounds awful. Actually,
yeah. So it just goes back to that being disciplined, right?
Yeah.
Like, make good choices in your life for yourself and for your family.
I love that.
Well, thank you for coming on,
Yeah,
Brian.
thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
We'll have to have you back and talk about fire stuff.
Yeah, we could do that another time. I'm definitely down for that.
All right, guys. I will link everything down below as always. And remember, be a good dude.